Good evening. It's a question of one goal scored, two red cards, and three valuable points for Arsenal this evening. Um, I mean, we got to start really, haven't we? With the big moment of the game, the sending off of Miles Lewis-Skelly, and I think probably for the third time this season, it's one of those ones where a lot of people are saying we're not going to see that again. I'm not normally one to sort of blame the referees. I genuinely think these things, generally speaking, even out over time. But Arsenal have been on the end of some shockers this season in terms of the red cards. All of them debatable at the absolute best case scenario for the referee, and this was probably the worst of a lot. Happens just before half time. Wolves get a corner away. Matt Doherty does really, really well. And Miles Lewis-Skelly brings him down, no question. It's a foul, it's a cynical foul. We see it every game, at least once, if not a few times. I've done it myself before. And it's a yellow card. You're stopping attack from building. It's a cynical foul. You're not trying to play the ball. It's a yellow card. There was confusion at first about why it was given, whether it was for dying a goal scoring opportunity. I'm not sure you can do that on the edge of the opposition box. I'm not sure that's a goal scoring opportunity, but it turned out then it was confirmed by the Premier League and the Referees Association that it was for dangerous play. I'm sorry, those studs are in a normal position. You know, it's just not a red card. I'm sorry, it's a yellow card. I, I haven't found anyone serious saying that it's anything other than that. And you'd like to think that, similar to the Bruno Fernandes one earlier in the season, and Mikel Arteta was referring to it after the game, that will be overturned on appeal. But it didn't make it any easier for Arsenal this afternoon. And it was a big point in the game. And I think it's even harder to swallow when, yes, João Gomez is sent off for a second yellow card, but he does a similar, if not worse, tackle and gets a second yellow for it. Now, Wolves won't be able to appeal that, but I don't think they can have any complaints. But that will be a one-match ban. In theory, Miles Lewis-Skelly is a three-match ban. And I just cannot see the consistency in officiating. I get there's going to be changes between games with the same referee or changes in games with different referees, but this was same referee, same game. And I think Miles Lewis-Skelly is really, really hard done by, and I share the frustration. Thankfully, it didn't cost us because we did get the win in the game. But I'm going to just address that up front because it really, really was a poor bit of officiating. I can't believe the AR. I haven't seen him over and said, "Are you sure?" I know they're going to say it's because it's not clear and obvious because it's by the letter of the law. And we either need to officiate the game by the letter of the law or we don't. It's one or the other. If we do it by the absolute letter of the law, it's going to be a sending off every single time. And we're going to see 5, 6, 7 red cards a game. And it's really frustrating to have to talk at length about this because I don't like to. It's not what we should be talking about. But it is. Anyway, that for me shouldn't have been a red card. Thankfully, it didn't cost us, and we just need to move on, and I'm sure Arsenal will appeal. Game itself, then, let's come to the lineups, which is normally where I'd start, but I don't think you could start anywhere else other than MLS today. Um, yeah, it was a surprise to see William Saliba start. And he looked really very, very good today. I must say, I would not have played him today. I would have rested him ahead of City. I really don't want to see him play in the Champions League game midweek. He's recovering from a hamstring. And I was surprised to see Lewis-Skelly play as well, given that he missed training and missed the game midweek as well when they both started. And it was probably close to our strongest back four there. You could argue White over Timber. Um, we'll see what happens with Calafiori when he fully settles and gets a run of games, whether he will take Miles Lewis-Skelly's spot. But they'd also show sort of strength we have in the full-back areas there. In midfield, really good to see Declan Rice still in there. He played really very well today. But no Moreno, no Odegaard. They were both ill/injured. Not quite sure Moreno. Mixed reports on him, but he certainly didn't travel. And it did sort of leave Arsenal scrambling around a little bit. But again, I thought the midfield balance worked. Wanyeri on the fringes of it again a bit, but to be expected from such a young player playing such a pivotal role. Everything we do comes through Martin Odegaard. He leads the press. He's a sort of creator. He sets a tempo for the game. And Wanyeri being asked to do that at his age, it's never going to be an easy ask. And he was unfortunately replaced. I think it was probably the right decision to replace him. I thought it might be Zinchenko, funny enough, not Calafiori. But thankfully, Mikel Arteta choosing the Italian to come on because that went prove pivotal later on. and then the front three we expected. Wolves were obviously going to sit in the low block. That's what they did, and kind of reflected in the game. Really, a game of few chances. Um, Havertz again will be the centre of much fury after he's missed a couple of chances with his head today. And I don't think there's many people who will say that he shouldn't be replaced and upgraded in the summer, but I still maintain that look, he gets a slightly unfair rap. Everyone highlights the chances he misses and doesn't talk about the ones he scores. But I understand the narrative. It's just the way football works, particularly for a signing that people didn't want. And I might talk about him later in the week in more detail. The other end, Wolves had a couple of chances. Cunha, with both maybe auditioning for his move potentially to Arsenal. Raya making one really smart save. João Gomez, as I say, sent off later on in the game for 2 yellow cards, as I touched on. He was lucky to be on the field, to be fair, at that point anyway, rightly given his marching orders. But the game turned sort of late-ish, or sort of just after the midway point of the second half, really, where Calafiori, with an absolutely lovely finish, Arsenal working the ball down the right, ball came in slightly behind Calafiori, and what a lovely finish from him. He's had a difficult first season here in Moreno with injuries sort of impacting them, and I think that both will improve as the season goes on. But he's the one to be more excited of the two about. He's the flashier player, and I can just sort of see how between him and Miles Lewis-Skelly it means that there is probably no future at the moment for Zinchenko, and his departure potentially this January is now likely. Dortmund are potentially interested in him, and I think we saw today he wasn't used. It was Calafiori coming back from injury that was, and he's the future, and Zinchenko is going to be the pass. It was enough for Arsenal. That goal, it separated the sides. I think deserved victory. Wasn't pretty. It wasn't overly effective at times, but it was three very, very big points today against a side that are always going to sit in and make it difficult. We know Arsenal struggle with the low block. Um, you know, Question marks about the attack will continue. I think that's right. I say it in every video. We do still need to get an attacking reinforcement in, but the big thing today, when we knew Liverpool were going to win, and indeed they did at Anfield against Ipswich, was that we did the same against fellow relegation strugglers. By fellow, I mean Ipswich, obviously the opposition for Liverpool, fellow relegation struggles to Wolves, and a big 3 points, as I say. It keeps the pressure on. Going to need Liverpool to slip up. It's probably going to be too little too late, even if we do get the forward in. But you could see the team are just in need of a break with injuries, and they just need a little bit of an impetus boost with a signing, just to give them some fresh legs and energy, because they looked dead on their feet at the final whistle. You could see the emotion and what it meant to them. You could see the fury in their performance at the start of the second half when they really upped the tempo a little bit, even if they didn't create the world supply of opportunities. But they look tired. They need this 10-day break they've got coming up after the Manchester City game. That I think is going to be so useful for Arsenal, and a signing on top of that would really, really help. The board need to go and support Arteta there. They really do. And if we do, there is still a chance you can catch Liverpool, because I still think they can look a little bit ropey. Obviously, they look very good going forward today, but still defensively suspect. And in some games that could be the difference between winning and losing. But there we go. Story of the day then obviously will be Miles Lewis-Skelly, followed by Havertz, but all that really matters at this point is it was 3 points for Arsenal. And we move on to Girona midweek before the big one next weekend against Manchester City. And boy, oh boy, would a win in that game really be significant for Arsenal. It really would. I'll leave it there. I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.